It's tabletop time! I'm Dave.
I'm Jen.
I'm Dragon.
I'm Murray.
I'm Elle.
And even in our special episodes, we cannot get a single round around the intro table out without it being slightly awkward, which is on brand. Today, we are doing a very special episode brought to you all by Loot Studios and their brand new journey into Alfheim. But before I tell you about that, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to be doing today. So today we're going to be role-playing. It's the first part of a 4-episode series where we explore the worlds of Norse mythology through the lens of Loot Studios and their own little take on the world, and with a special focus on really cool elven characters. I get to be a player today. Dragon's here to help us DM. Thanks for coming, Dragon.
You're most welcome. This is very exciting.
To tell you more about Loot Studios and the awesome new journey into Alfheim and what you can expect and what we might be seeing in these roleplay sessions, let's hear a little bit from future Dave.
That's right, Dave. This video is sponsored by Loot Studios and their brand new journey into Alfheim. This is the third and final installment in their long-running series exploring the worlds of Viking and Norse mythology. This amazing campaign includes miniatures from 3 factions, the Wood Elves, Dark Elves, and High Elves, in delicious pre-supported 32mm scale and 75mm scale. Not only that, but you also get some great terrain and huge centerpiece terrain for these factions as well. But it doesn't just end with miniatures, there's also an overarching story as well as stat blocks for use in 5e for all of the monsters and many of the NPCs you can encounter in this journey. Whether or not you want to play as elves, as we are going to do in our campaign today, or whether you want to journey to Alfheim as warriors from Midgard, make sure to go and check out this pack from Loot Studios. There are special launch discounts available this week, and not only that, there is an extra code Tabletop Time to get 10% off your purchase. We're really excited to share with you a little taste of one of the things you could do with just this campaign and its resources alone. And Loot Studios have an amazing reputation and are beloved by us for their fantastic miniature quality, and they will not let you down. So make sure to go check them out. Links are in the description, and thank you to Loot for sponsoring the video.
What a glow up. Holy moly, that guy's looking fresh, you know what I'm saying?
Love the glitter
Sure,
beard.
man.
We believe you.
Thanks for gassing me up, guys. That was really good. I was like, not in a million years.
We just say like, how can this get better? I'm just saying like,
that's true. Kings hold each other's crowns up, you know. We've got to support each other. Okay, so
big
we're
enough head.
going to get to... are you feeling self-conscious without the headphones on?
Yes.
We're going to get to the start of our adventure by handing over the reins to Dragon, our GM for today.
Thank you very much. Very excited to start this. So we've all created our characters. To give you a brief idea on the background here, we are playing within the realm of Alfheim, which has been bound within Yggdrasil, the world tree, creating the elves to be guardians of the sacred cycle of time and Ragnarok. And something this time has gone a bit amiss. So, as we open on Yggdrasil, the world tree, pathway to the 9 realms, and fulcrum of the universe. There's been countless cycles since the realm of Alfheim was bound to the grand eternal ash tree, and its inhabitants, the elves, sworn as its protectors. The elves now live in the boughs, trunks, and roots of the world tree, eternal guardians and keepers of the sacred cycle of Ragnarok. Under the will and light of the gods, that is, until Balder fell. In an act of malicious cruelty, the god of mischief, Loki, tricked the blind god of winter, Hod, into shooting the Prince of Darkness with an arrow carved from the world tree itself. Balder's death dealt a heavy blow to the elves, though none more than the Rotgetir, whom revered and loved Balder for his compassion and kindness, even when their own had started to distance themselves. As the days grow dark and cold in Yggdrasil in Alfheim, we open on the first of our heroes in the midst of one of Alfheim's many lush green fields, sitting beneath the shade of a small tree we find Jen. Can you introduce your character, please?
so keen for what you're doing here.
So my name is Nadine. Nadine is sitting outside and she has a small drum that sits on her lap and she's just banging away and she's singing to herself. And she's like,
changes everything she
everything
touches.
changes. And she's having the time of her life, right, between a tree. A couple of cats as well are running around. She has 13 of them.
That's impressive.
That live in her house, yep. But she lets them outside to go play for a little
Are
bit.
they native to Alfheim or are they sort of strays from Midgard?
They are now.
Freya,
well,
she's
one of
the
them.
goddess.
So Freya, being one of the gods that took sort of matronship over the elves, various parts of the elves, took a shine and ownership of the, not ownership, but took a shine to the what are now referred to as the Freyakin, who are sort of the caretakers of Yggdrasil. They lived within the trunk of Yggdrasil. Generally lean more towards the natural and taking care of the tree, though some do lean more towards martial and defensive abilities. Many do lean towards the arts and nature. But Freya is known for being having a fondness for cats.
Sick.
I don't want to let this whole thing turn into a glaze session, but I will point out that there is a Freya model in the Loot Studios range that they released, and she has 2 large cats with her.
So they would be, I always forget their names, but they would be the 2, I believe they're generally described as being the Norwegian forest cat, giant Norwegian forest cats that pull her chariot.
That's epic.
It is one of the nicest miniatures I've seen this year, probably. It's so good. And I was like, I wish we could play as the gods because there's like a god miniature for each one, and the god miniatures, like their regular miniatures are really good, but the god. Anyway,
Yeah.
well, tell us about
God tier.
So you have
they're
this,
god tier, you're
just
right.
this
Especially tier.
small, like, circle, ever-growing circle of lounging and stretching cats around you, all very, very fluffy.
Yeah. Which is great. Zidane is also, Nadine, not Zidane. It's also a farmer. She grows all her own food, all organic, and she grows all types of different food.
Grows
as
her own
well.
cats.
Yep. Yeah, and she's just living her best life.
So
Amazing.
as you are sitting and just sort of gently playing your drums, watching the cats around you just sort of lull and purr and roll around, looking out ahead of you, you see what is not an uncommon, but still a fairly wondrous sight. As you see amongst in the field ahead of you, amongst this slowly growing, grazing group of deer, a glorious, brilliant stag walks out from a group of trees. This sort of like shining white pelt that seems to almost glint silver in certain lights, and this huge crown of antlers that appear almost to shine gold within the what I imagine in this case is probably about the midday sun.
Okay.
You recognize this to be, it is one of the stags of Alfheim, whom have become somewhat of a, especially amongst the Tierbrand, your more militaristic, tier-driven brothers and sisters. They are considered to be, many ways, the almost like symbol of everything that they strive to be. They are known to be noble, strong, and quite vigilant towards the darker forces of the realms.
Okay. So seeing one like rare or
It's not common.
yeah, okay.
But it's not like a it's not it's not a miraculous thing.
Sure.
But it is sort of like a it's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nadine stops her drumming and then sees the deer.
What do you look like?
Oh,
That's actually also a good point. Yes, you can also
Point.
describe your character at this moment.
She isn't the white deer. Damn.
I thought that was her character.
So, Nadine is wears a lot of like clothing, but more just like sort of scraps of clothing. She dresses in green because green's her favorite color. But so it's kind of like bits that are like tied together with like beads and stuff. It's not like one cohesive piece of clothing almost. She has beautiful orange hair that's quite long and braided up with beads and very ordained. And she has a little pair of what do you call them? Like little antlers as well that come from her head, but very, very small. Yeah, that's pretty much it. She's.
She reminds me of the Final Fantasy 14 online. There's like the kids that have like stag horns in the elven place.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't know why that came to my head.
Yeah.
You're such a Final
little bit like
Fantasy
that.
nerd.
I am a massive Final Fantasy nerd. I got to get back into online. Anyway.
Anyway, so she stops playing her drum, and then she sees the stag, and then looks to her left where she's left a pipe on the ground, and then looks back at the stag, and then decides to get up and venture forward.
Okay. As you slowly get to your feet, there is, in the immediate circle around you, there are about 3 or 4 cats that just sort of, like, just because they were quite obviously, like, quite prominently leaning against you as they sort of roll and stretch and look up at you with the level of pious offense that only a cat can muster. You make your way over the field towards this herd of deer. The stag, as you approach, you notice its head rises suddenly as it turns to stare at you. Seems to be watching, very not seemingly aggressive in this moment, but is definitely alert.
Okay. Zidane is Nerdane. She's like, hey friend, what you doing?
Can you roll me an animal handling?
Sure can. I've not played D&D in a while, so
So roll a d20.
that's with my massive D20.
Add your modifier.
It should be. Oh, keep going.
Oh god, I can't even see that one. That is a 14 plus animal handling plus 8.
Whoa.
We should mention.
You should mention what level you are. What level are you for D&D fans?
We all should have done this. We are level 18.
You are level 18.
Yeah.
So we are the badass elves of the realm.
We're pretty powerful. I've never played a level
She
18
is
character.
top farmer.
I played in like a 3-year-long campaign, and I think I topped out at level 14.
yeah.
It's really been points farming over there.
Hey.
So that's 22, is that right?
22,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or a
She has
farming.
drum
So-
sounds.
I aced that animal handling check.
So you approach as this stag sort of at first gives sort of a quick snort.
Ew.
No, like a sort of just a huff, like a sort of a
Oh, okay.
not like
Not just come down.
just snot rockets.
Jurassic Park scene with the Brachiosaurus.
But as you are, sort of like gingerly and cautiously approach, he sort of turns and seems to almost tip his antlers towards you, which is almost like a bow.
Charges. No, sorry. Not yet.
As you are approaching, he doesn't seem to be making any sort of movements or
Okay.
any nothing changes. He seems to just be wary of you and watching.
Okay. It's just the one, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're in the middle of this sort of like herd of just grazing. Also like quite beautiful deer. Like these are all of the ones around you have these almost like ashen gray silver coats that are just glistening in the sun. It's very, very beautiful.
Okay. I'm going to sit on the ground and start playing my drum.
Cool. So you sit down as in the middle of this herd as they're surrounding you,
Start a stampede.
playing your drum. You start playing your drum. Sort of just a pretty steady rhythm. It's good. It's and the deer around you do not seem. In fact, they seem to almost calm slightly. A few of them lie down.
Okay.
The stag standing next to you sort of watches for a moment and then goes to grazing, seemingly comfortable with your presence.
Okay.
As you're playing, the rhythm is going quite well until you, in this sort of, as you get into almost this sort of like trance mode, you're feeling this rhythm. Being a troubadour, you know that a lot of your music, you feel this sort of channeling from the power that you have been given from Freya. The power of Yggdrasil, this natural energy that flows through you. As you are playing, you're sinking more and more into this semi-lucid state when you strike a note that it, even for as it would be like a sort of a bongo drum, random sort of drum beat style, it rings wrong.
Oh, okay.
Like it is a dull sort of cut. And as you sort of snap back to it and you look down at your drum, you look up and all of the deer are now looking at you.
Oh.
And the stag sort of stares at you for a moment and then head just turns to look up at this huge spectral tree that almost stretches across as far as you can see across the sky.
Yeah, okay.
And seems just very alert and locked on that for a moment.
Okay.
That would be Yggdrasil, the world tree?
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially you have, wherever you are in Alfheim at this stage, you are, as much as, you are currently probably on one of the branches of Yggdrasil, this is a branch that is, a country wide. This is not a small, it's impossibly wide. So it's in many ways you have set up this farm in the earth of the bark of Yggdrasil, shall we say. Whereas looking up, you can see in almost always in the distance, there is this just arcing canopy of branches that goes over the top of you, almost looking like constellations in the sky.
Okay. After striking the wrong note, I say, that's not very groovy. Oh, man, that kind of bummed me out. And so I stop playing my drum and I notice the stag looking away. And I go to pet him.
Okay. You approach and nestle your fingers, just sort of dig your fingers into this creature's fur, which is very soft. Still has that slight sort of bristle to it. But as you press through, you can feel through this just immensely dense, thick fur, like reindeer fur. You push through and place your hand against its skin. And you feel its pulse is, as a moment, as you feel through its body, you feel it twitch, and there is a fairly rapid pulse through this creature's skin.
Like it's
it is
on edge.
On edge.
Yeah, okay.
And you gather, you remember that these sorts of creatures, the stags, are known for having an acute sense for evil. Essentially, they are finely tuned to the fabric of Yggdrasil, to the sort of heartbeat of Yggdrasil, if you will, and they are fine, almost fine-tuned to pick up on signs of evil.
Okay. And it's looking towards the center of...
It seems to be looking, it almost, as you're watching its eyes, though its head remains still, its eyes sort of move slightly as if it's searching, it's not quite sure where it is.
Okay. Oh, it's gonna, so I kind of try to talk to it, and say oh man, is there something going on? Is there something wrong? You can tell me, bud.
It, sort of leans down and paws at the ground, sort of doing that sort of bucking nod, You're not sure if it's trying to sort of push your hand away or if it's just reacting to some sort of stimulation. But as you look up, you sort of lock eyes for it for a moment, and an image flashes across your vision, and you see Olwen, who is the head, essentially the sort of the caretaker of the patriarch of the Freyakin, of your people.
Yep.
And it's sort of you gather that this is a sign of, go find him. Something's wrong.
Oh, sure. Okay. I feel you, bud. I understand. All right. And then I'll let them be. Go grab whatever I need from home, and I'll make my way further in.
Cool.
Let me play my drum.
Play it the whole time.
All I can think of is she changes everything she touches.
Music references will be strong.
Moving
That ain't.
further into more of the city of Alfheim, as it were, through the houses and different residential areas, we find our way to a small chamber where one of our more tier-driven kin
Ooh, it's me.
is preparing himself for the day's events, or preparing himself to take on his practiced face. Dave, would you like to introduce your character?
We have a bias towards the player here, as my character is preparing themselves.
Oh, apologies.
So am I preparing myself for the what's am I at rest, or am I in disguise, basically?
No, at this stage you are in your personal chambers.
Okay. So my character's name is Ari. They are extremely androgynous and beautiful in the way that elves are often depicted. They have long, beautiful hair, which is also braided at the front and pulled down in curls. Very extremely lithe and athletic. It's a very slender acrobatic frame that would definitely be at home on like a dance stage or performing. It's like a ballet sort of a frame. You wouldn't expect them to be doing big deadlifts. However, there is a light-footedness to their motions. And so Ari is in this room on my own.
You are currently preparing. You have been summoned. I just received a summon from Nieva, who is the Sunlit, who is sort of the current head of the Tier's sect of Alfheim, of the elves. These are the Tierbrand are said to be sort of more in your, much like the god of law and warfare himself, much more in the militaristic side of things, but also hold very strongly to the sort of outer defenses and military power of Alfheim.
So in this chamber,
you are sitting currently, I imagine, sort of preparing. Your partner Sigrun is kind of sort of lying, sort of just relaxed. There's a gentle glow coming in from the window above the bed as you sort of lying, sort of splayed out, just resting and watching you. Long golden hair draped around, sort of across the pillow. This very sharp, long jawline, similarly androgynous to you, leaning more towards the femme, and is just sort of like staring at you.
There's steps across the room as I move between things, but everything is carried with a flourish of a freedom. Almost, it is dance-like, and it's performative and deliberate. There is a sense of expression before. It's almost like a ritual of wrapping oneself up and letting go of these things that you would be able to have in your privacy or in your other life before you put on another one. So there's a flourish, and every now and then I look back at Sigrun at the end of a movement to grab something, and there's like a little cheeky smile.
You every time you look towards Sigrun, there is almost a forced grin, a forced smile in return, which is one of enjoying the moment, but it is also, you recognize, covering a issue and emotion that comes up every single time that you do this, and it is a sadness and a regret, almost a longing, shall we say.
I dance over towards a chair beside the cabinet that I'm getting various items out of, and pick up a viol and gesture it towards Sigrun and say, "I will play for you when I return. Many times more, I promise. It is just another summons. Nothing more."
Sigrun takes the viol from you and just sort of gently runs their fingers across the strings. As they say, "You would have made such a performer, such a delight on the stage. Even would it overshadow the light itself, and yet you cling to the shadows. I don't get it."
Tyr needs his blade, and unfortunately I was born with many gifts.
Tyr has his blades. Tyr has his blades, and yet one hand. You see she stops and is like, sorry, they stop. It's like,
at this point, I'm picking up like an array of knives and slotting them into a leather strap that's gone across my chest. In this process, I should describe that I've equipped myself from that incredibly lithe, like dancer's silken clothes underneath. There has now been this process of arming and equipping with like leather equipment, and any sense of that sensitivity is just being wrapped up in like incredibly durable like leathers equipment, knives, blades. There's an unstrung bow that I'm sort of stringing and putting over my shoulder as well.
You see as Sigrun watches you finish, covering your sort of dancers and like quite beautiful attire in these what are still quite elegant but very obviously raiments of war. There's this almost like sort of grim line, mouth thins to a line of sort of grim acceptance as they nod and say, just come back to me.
I pause and look out the window at the dappled sunlight coming in. I would want nothing more than to spend another eternity with you, but I'm afraid of what might be coming, and I have to stop it.
Sigrun's sort of eyes look off towards the wall, and there's about 3 or 4 times that they open their mouth, almost trying to form words. But then finally they close it again. Say, we must preserve the cycle.
And seeing and sensing the sort of sadness in all of this moment, but refusing to kind of, as kind of the cause of it, but never wanting to be and always feeling that guilt, Ari dives across the room and slides onto the bed and then leans in and just pushes hands into hair, pulls Sigrun's face in and lays a kiss directly on their mouth, and then pulls back gently, leaning my forehead into their forehead and just holding in that moment for a second before pulling back and then doing the thing I know they hate the most as I pull a mask across my face. It's just a wrap. It's not like a ninja mask or something. It's just a silken wrap that covers from under my eyes all the way down, because every time I step outside this house, no one can know who I am or my identity as I conceal it after that kiss.
As you draw back, in this moment, as you embrace pressing your forehead to theirs, you feel this warmth, this energy that emanates between the two of you. There is this deep and profound connection that binds the two of you who have been together for cycles. As you pull away, you see this sort of gentle, glistening welling in Sigrun's eyes, though their jaw remains sort of firmly sort of gritted. And as you draw this mask across your face and fasten it, you see all of that emotion, all of that almost like life just drains from their eyes as they just give you a nod.
And I go to step out. And as I leave, I stop for a second and then reach the counter, which is unusual for me to do. And I take with me a flute, which I would usually leave at home with all my instruments. I actually have an array of musical instruments, and I put it in my pocket under my clothes. I will carry it with me.
Be sure that you do. As you exit out into the corridor, you remember that Nieva, the sunlit, has summoned you to Hidegi, which is the main temple of the Tierbrand. It is said mainly a place for meetings, a place for discussions and judgment. It's not a place that you're often called to. But as you make your way down towards your master's call, you pass through a section of the trunk of the tree where off to the side you know that there are, while the Freyakin do not have the military focus that the Tierbrand have, they are not without their warriors. Being sort of the, as many would call it, almost like the last line of defense for the tree. And within there, we find our young World Tree Battle Master. Murray, would you like to introduce your character?
You don't have to kiss anyone in your introduction. That's just...
Oh, but you will.
Fine. Very well. All right.
Change your plans.
Look me in the eyes. So where am I? I'm in an interior.
So I imagine you being sort of more like, so obviously the Tierbrand are more the ones who would be stationed as guards, as sort of guardians from the outer, more for the portals that lead to other realms, whereas the Freyakin and the World Tree Battle Masters and Guardians are more inner sort of warriors trained to protect Yggdrasil itself. So Tierbrand protect all of Alfheim and all the outer areas, whereas like if something were to come straight in to Yggdrasil, by the time we got there, they would be there to bolster.
So we live like close to the trunk itself.
The Freyakin live within the trunk of Yggdrasil.
All right. Well, Rowan, despite being localized towards the core of Yggdrasil, is someone whose heart is in roaming the wilds. But at this moment, you find him indoors, sharpening, almost ironically from a foreigner's perspective, a giant battle axe. However, here, this axe is a pledge to use on others, not on trees. Sort of in contradiction to a lot of other elves as well, there's not as many smooth lines about Rowan. He is, of course, very graceful, except there's a very distinct sharpness to his features, particularly his brows. He always has the appearance of being very stern, which doesn't always match his personality or mood, but that is his default position and is often talked about as his face looking very much like a craggy mountain range. Mm-hmm. The brows jutting down over a very strong pointy nose and a strong chin to match. But he is sitting there gently sharpening this axe at peace in the world and wishing that he had taken this day's chance to go and lay down by one of the riverbanks that you can find in a tree.
It's a big tree, though.
An impressive tree.
There are a lot of little trees.
Yeah.
There's little trees that growing out of the
Trees
big
within
tree.
trees.
Oh, yeah. So at this moment, he's at peace, and nothing in this world could possibly interrupt him.
Famous last
Till it
words.
does.
As you are sitting and sharpening your axe, there is a moment of, in this the simplicity of this task, in the silence of this room, there is almost this moment of a tremor. It seems to run almost through the timber around you. As you pause and you look around, there's a voice that comes from just behind, sort of further up behind you. It's a deep, sort of quite resonant voice as it just says, "You always were more of the freer spirit than your kin, Rowan."
Sort of having stopped the sharpening and sort of tap the stone against the side of the blade and turn ever so slightly. So, you would not interrupt me and start such a, shall we say, kind-hearted conversation without wanting something. What can I do for you?
As you look over your shoulder and like walking past you, you see Alwyn, who is the World Heart Warden. This is the current sort of patriarch of the Freyakin. You see this, he is a tall and very strong-looking elven man. He's swathed in these trappings and long draped robes of emerald green cloth, and wears a long necklace that is adorned with different cured, like old fangs and bits of timber, seeds, and just a bunch of sort of remnants of different ancient adventures across his neck. His long honey brown hair hangs in thick, neat dreadlocks around a crown of antler-esque branches that almost sort of like curl, spiraling back from his hair that seem to grow out of his very skin. You would recognize, to varying degrees, the Freyakin, through their service to Yggdrasil, in many ways, took on many of the tree's attributes. Some, skin has turned to look like bark. There are some that have almost natural armor. In fact, as you turn to look, he's wandering with two of these large hulking, almost large hulking warriors, partly armored, carrying these sort of long halberds. Though the others on one side of their body, like in various parts of their body, the armor is sheared away in place of there being just like this almost like knotted timber growth, like roots or branches reaching out from them. his eyes give off this sort of low yellow glow as he takes in the room and turns to you with this very knowing smile. And he says, "You are blunt as you are vigilant, my son." He strolls past to look out one of the door, like the archways, peering out at the horizon. He says, "Do you It seems colder this year, this cycle. I don't trust it." She turns to look at you again, and he says, "I fear for Minessa and the Rotgetir following the Prince of Asgard's fall. What do you make of it all?"
Of the fall, or
Of their current predicament. The Rotgetir return to their holes, and I fear that worse things are to come, and we stand divided.
well, they have suffered a blow in terms of their strength of spirit, certainly. Their warrior's pride is strong enough. I feel they will be fine. In terms of the weather, perhaps I agree. Perhaps it is a bit colder than usual.
You'd be aware that sort of around many of the other realms, especially when it comes towards the end of a cycle, Fimbulwinter sets in, which is a winter that lasts, 3 to 4 years, essentially. Like, it is without end until Ragnarok starts. That does not normally affect Yggdrasil. That normally would not affect Alfheim. And yet, as he mentions it, it's not by any, there's no, by any case, snow, or there's not even particularly a chill, but there is a notable sort of, this not as, balmy as it would normally be.
You suspect a portent of ill wind, or are you simply trying to be melodramatic again?
Melodramatic. I want to be prepared, Rowan.
Aye, as is the way.
And I fear that something is very wrong.
And you have feared long enough to come to me, which means that you have thought of something. I move as the winds of fate decree. What would you have me do?
As he turns to say something like it's a thought that's on the tip of his tongue. And as he does so, there's the sound of running footsteps from the corridor outside, as Nadine, you charge into the room as Olwen turns to face you in this, not alarmed, in fact, almost as if he was expecting it, turns to face you very calmly. What would you like to do?
Sorry, the guy you were seeking, right?
Yes, this is Olwen. This is the
guy the stag showed.
the World Heart Warden. So he's the one that the stag showed you. He's essentially your caretaker.
Okay. Hey man, how's it going?
Nadine, always wonderful to see you. Though,
As informal and abrupt as ever. Good to see you.
Peace and love, friends.
he bows his head with his hand. He's Peace and love, of course. I never get used to the language of this cycle. Do you need something?
Oh, well, you see, I was just mellowing out in the forest, just doing my thing. And then Friendly Stag suggested that there may be something wrong. It's totally not cool. Threw off the vibes, man.
Yes. I too have noticed that the vibes have been off.
Right?
The thermostat vibes.
He looks to the two these hulking half tree sort of like wardens, and just gives this almost like silent command through his eyes as they step back and almost like meld into the timber of the wall and are suddenly just gone. As he looks over the two of you, he ushers you forward, ushers you over towards Rowan. As he holds out, he sort of reaches within and holds out a hand. You see 3 small seeds, actually fairly large seeds in his hand. You recognize them to be essentially what would be they're ash seeds. They are from the world tree. They are believed to be highly sacred to the Freyakin. You recognize that what should be a quite vibrant, almost semi-translucent sort of surface is grey and crumbling.
So they look like they're
They look dead.
dead, yeah. Oh, those don't look mellow.
How long have they been like that?
I found these this morning.
Only this morn.
Yes.
I would have thought that you would have led with that.
I wanted to know if you had seen anything similar. But if the Alfheim stags sense something, then I fear I may be correct. We need to find the others. Now, I believe we will currently find Nieva at the Hidegi Pt1 temple. But we must summon Minessa. You two, come with me. As he starts to sort of hurry out the door.
Sort of heft up the axe and stand up, my broad frame stretching. As you will be it.
Cool. Deep. As we draw back from this moment, we dive downwards, plunging into the dark depths of the roots of Yggdrasil. Within the caverns and tunnels and chambers of the Rotgetir, the dark elves within the roots of Yggdrasil, there is a deep sense of mourning. There is almost as you travel through, there is a constant dirge there's a drone of wailing and weeping songs that are sung, lamenting the fall of the Lord of Light. As you walk through, almost barely taking in your surroundings, really, just moving almost just for the sake of moving. Can you please introduce your character, Elle?
Yeah, my character is, as you said, a Rotgetir. Her name is Ilva, and she is essentially a dark elf. Her skin is like a dark purple, which has been tainted from the roots of Yggdrasil, because that's where like the rot collects, and it's the job of the Rotgetir to cleanse it. But being amongst that kind of poisonous energy has changed them in turn and made them kind of a bit more reclusive. And obviously the loss of their god has had this big effect on them. And Ilva has like this kind of, as she's like almost, I would almost say floating as if in a dream, like a bad dream. She's got this very like dainty body, long flowing silvery hair that kind of glows when she's using her magic, and eyes of like almost pure white, like the moon in which the Rotgetir often draw their magic from. I'd say she's probably got a book on her. She's often got like prayers and rituals and things and spells that she's always reading about and looking through. And maybe even now her brain's racing, thinking of there's got to be something she can do.
As you wander, your brain racing, you realize you've almost like reclused back into your mind. Just wandering around, your hand gently trailing the roots mindlessly. As you step forward, you feel this sharp bite of cold under your foot that shocks you for a moment as you look down and around, and you are in a vast expanse of darkness around you. Looking down, you see dark, rough ice that seems to span as far as you can see. As you wander forward, this compulsion almost pulling at you as you step and step, almost pulled. You're not sure why this is the direction that you take, but some thread seems to be dragging you in this direction. After a moment, you start to hear sounds of almost whimpering of this voice, a male voice almost on the wind at first, that seems to sort of just gently gasp and whimper in the throes of prolonged agony. As you arrive, finally, a shape emerges from the darkness in front of you. You see an impossibly tall man, pale, smooth, almost like porcelain skin. What was once, you imagine, quite a strong, beautiful body, drained of almost any fluid or strength or life to it.
Like emaciated.
This, sort of short, like shoulder length, blonde hair, rendered almost like ratty and wiry in this frigid environment. As he lies almost like slightly reclined on this black stone, you see these dark claws reaching from the stone, almost from the stone itself. This dark shadow, fingers pierced into the skin, and from these fingers, dark, almost like veins or tendrils pulse under his skin as he just... You recognize, though he looks a shadow of his former self, you recognize this to be Balder.
I immediately run over. Like, she's got robes flying, like barefoot, just rushing. My God.
You charge forward, like rushing forward, robes flailing around you as this shadow around you seems to shift and swirl. And as you approach, this face is suddenly like right in front of yours. Split down the middle, one side, a fair and beautiful young human woman. The other side, a rotting corpse, as it seems to grin at you. The rotting tendons on one side splitting with this wide grin.
I take a step back.
Yeah.
What is this?
As this apparition sort of floats back, these long, bedraggled shadow cloak sort of like whipping around her, you see this smile drop and the eyes narrow down seemingly onto your hands.
I look at my hands.
You look down and you see a glowing orb of brilliant light in your hands. It glows almost like a drop of sun. And this shadow almost shirks back from it. And as you take a step towards this emaciated form of the Prince of Asgard, you see that slight glow start to come back into his cheeks. They start to fill out almost a little bit. His breath slows. You take another step and further.
Reach out my hand.
As you reach out to place your hand against his skin, you feel your fingers just like almost brush the hairs that stick out from his skin. When suddenly you feel a sharp, hard grasp grab your shoulder. As you shock for a moment, you look over your shoulder and you are back in the roots of Yggdrasil. Ahead of you, you see an ancient elf, ancient dark elf, swathed in these sort of deep robes of dark grey and purple, and carrying this old, sort of almost gnarled root staff. She has long, wispy grey hair that almost hangs very unkempt around her face, which you see is smeared in certain places with the dark sap from Yggdrasil. Her pale eyes seem to stare at you. You recognize this to be Manessa, the Moon Herald. She is essentially the matriarch of the Rotgetir. She looks at you and she says,
"What did you see?"
I saw our god. He was emaciated.
Shh. Not here. Come.
Okay.
she leads you through this winding, moving almost with this startling speed for an elf her age, is sort of traveling through to a large circular chamber. It's sort of more of her inner chamber. Throughout the walls, almost woven with rope and the roots of Yggdrasil, you see skulls sort of planted into the walls. There are various strings of bones hanging around. And at the far end, almost directly across from the doorway, there is this large coalesced knot of roots, which she refers to as essentially the heart of the roots, as it would say. And she turns to you and glances around and she says,
The others have suffered enough. Hope is dangerous. Now tell me, what did you see?
I saw him, my lady. He was lying there, but he was alive. And he looked at me, and then it was like some other person, some half face, like a lady with a big grin. And I looked down in my hands and I had this orb that seemed to repel it and to heal him. There must be it must mean something.
Yes. I have received visions.
Yes?
I thought it was me, my own grief. I thought it was my mind playing. But this, if you saw it, do you understand what this means?
He must be trying to communicate with us somehow, right?
Yes. Hell has her clutches in our master. And we can free him. We can bring him back. You and I've heard this. I've seen it. It's something I have seen as well. There is some ring, a portal of fire. But it makes no sense. I don't understand what it has to do, but I know it's connected. And
she pauses for a moment and takes almost seems to blink. She says, the others have sensed something too. Never is calling us. We should go. This is,
Of course.
there's too much going on. There's too much. What is happening?
and she wanders past you, just sort of muttering and scratching at her head.
I believe something like this has not happened before. We can do the impossible back. We can bring him back.
She swings around and like almost like wheels, her hair like flailing around, and suddenly she is in like right up face to face with you, and she says,
Baldur's death could spell the end. This has never happened. This is a new something. What
The end of the cycle.
has that trickster done?
she turns and like runs off, and you hear her muttering, just like,
But grabbing that.
Ilva kind of pulls out the dagger that she has from just pruning the trees and the rock, and is just kind of spinning it around in her fingers as she thinks, kind of amongst her robes, and is clearly lost in thought of what she's seen.
So you make your way up from the roots of Yggdrasil. As you make your way out onto the from the tunnels into more into the trunk of the tree, there's a brief moment as you're like squinting. That's very bright up here. You realize
Almost recoil.
it's sort of, you recognize in this moment the Manessa does not seem to so much. And you are reminded that she is from a time before that these sort of afflictions started to take hold of the Rotgetir. She leads you further up towards the Herdegi, which all of you would now be arriving at.
While I head towards the Herdegi, Ari is walking now in public, and their keen ears pick up every word, every whisper said behind their back as they walk past, every glance staring at me. And it's like even though elves are sort of contemplative, quiet, and respectful, to me, there's this clamor of judgment constantly around everywhere I walk. And as I know these roads and know this path, there's a deep inhalation and then exhalation as I just close my eyes and navigate through the streets with my eyes closed, entirely walking by memory, by sound, by perception alone, dodging, not even needing to dodge people because they avoid me, and just deliberately closing myself to that air of sudden judgment outside my home.
You, as you enter this hall, like this is the hall of your people. This is one of the main temples to Tyr, and to the Tyr brand. As you pass by other elves, like any of the Tyr brand, give you a very curt, respectful nod, though that is all the recognition that you get. Passing by other elves, there are those of the Freyakin and those of sort of more of a civilian basis that will give you a very wide berth as they see you, almost like bowing their heads, almost more to avert their eyes in a way of like we didn't see anything, we didn't do anything, like sort of way. As you enter the temple, you would be the first to arrive, and you see the last of our ancient patrons, Nieva, the Sunlit. This is a tall, elegant elven woman, still quite young compared to the other sort of more ancient caretakers of their brand. She has long golden hair which hangs in a thick braid over one shoulder, wearing long flowing white robes which are trimmed with gold, and augmented with golden plates, sort of making up a very still functional, but for most part aesthetic, very aesthetic armor look. She carries this sort of golden staff that almost has this that has this sort of curved sigil at the top of it, looking like stag antlers. And she's staring up towards the back of the temple, where there is a shield bearing the Pt1's symbol and 2 crossed spears. She seems to be almost lost in thought as you enter.
I approach and do not make any attempt to make myself known. I just go and stand silently off to the side slightly, as if expecting that my presence isn't the one that's being requested. I'm just here as an accessory to whatever's going on.
As you stand for a moment, you, as far as you can tell, like you're fairly quiet. This room is silent, but you are fairly light-footed.
Extremely
light-footed.
I just looked at my stealth modifier. I was like, I'm very light.
As you pause and almost wait, not as you said, not exactly expecting that you were the one who has been summoned here. Nieva doesn't turn to look at you. She's still staring at the back of the room. She says, "What is our purpose, Artie?"
She knows my name. Okay.
You would be like, judging by the level here, you would be
I'm like,
one of, if not the top, Hushblade agent in Alfheim.
Okay. It's
Maybe
more.
that's your
I guess
code
it's
name.
there's not many people in the room, is there? Right.
No.
Okay.
There is no one else in the room. Right?
Oh, that would okay.
You're
Sure.
safe.
Yeah, because
Your
it's like
secret's safe.
it's like a secret identity. I'm like,
Oh yeah, sorry. So. No, yes,
But
actually,
she would probably know who I am. but
yeah.
In company, I'd be like, you revealed my secret identity. Okay. What is our purpose?
Don't look at me.
Well, you gotta have a name, right?
To defend the cycle.
And in this moment, with the past day's events, how would you protect the cycle? Recognizing that she is referring to like something heavily unprecedented has just happened. This is not part of, in the ideal of like, you could, any other cycle you imagine you could time almost events that happen. This is something that has not happened before.
My counsel is not up to the standards of this high hall. I would speak outside my place to suggest anything.
She, for the first time since you entered, she moves and she turns to face you head on, like staff just leaning, staring at you, and she says, "You would stand to respect the rules of this hall, but you would defy the sunlit when asked a direct question."
I bow my head. I apologize. I would seek to find a way to restore the Prince of Asgard, and if that could not be done, someone to replace his role. If there is not an actor who can play his part, everything falls apart.
I fear there is not. She looks back towards the shield at the back of the room again. Can you roll me an insight check, please?
Dice rolls.
I'm
dice
good at
rolls.
everything. No, I don't. I'm not that good at insight. It's all right.
You wanna roll
I'm not
me?
used to being an level 18 character. This is like, what the hell? I got a 12, so that's a 21.
I'm bad at everything.
That's one of my worst rolls.
You've known for some time you've worked with Nieva. Like she's been, as I mentioned, like she is the youngest of these, sort of caretakers of these wardens. You are also, through your skulking or through various other works or whispers that you have heard, you're also aware that Nieva, some may say, has not entirely completed her trials to be the Sunlit. Sunlit are essentially Sunlit are more born, like they are chosen at birth and then trained from that moment until they are ready to take the mantle. Nieva has been almost, you imagine, like thrust into this out of necessity, there not being anyone to really guide the Tierbrand. You recognize that she is strong, she is resolute, but you also aware that she is, in many ways, highly anxious and is very much, quite often, second guesses herself. You see in this moment, as she's staring up the back, it is everything that she has right now to hold this persona. In many ways, as you would imagine, as many ways as you might put it, or in many ways like Sigrun might put it, you are not the only one in this room wearing a mask. As this sort of settles in, there is a motion at the door as Olwen, Manessa, and our three other heroes join us in the hall. And you see as Nieva turns around, this mask almost solidifies to that of almost a general or a commander. She turns and says, excellent. Thank you for coming at such short notice. There have been some disturbing signals, some disturbing omens that I fear all of us have felt now. And with her eyes sort of shoot warily to Manessa and names. Ylva, that's right. It says, and with the last few days' unfortunate events, I fear we need to be more vigilant than ever. One of our portals to Midgard has, you see her take a deep breath as she sort of mulls this over and says, it's burning. I don't know how else to explain it.
A portal of fire.
The edges spark and smolder like that of wood that has started or is at risk of burning out.
Sort of take a step forward. Gone is like this simple tunic. I'm now in the full regalia of my post as Battlemaster. Mm-hmm. There is fire creeping through the portal, or the portal itself is now twisted with flame?
No, there is fire creeping through, it would seem.
Do the Tierbrand not fight to protect the portal?
They do, but what can you do against mere flame? We put the flames out, but then something sparks and another part of the timber cracks. You look over and Manessa is staring, just wide-eyed, almost like catatonic, just straight ahead in this sort of, it's all happening.
Yeah, I kind of look at her helplessly for help, but yeah.
She never takes a moment to breathe and then says, the portal also won't close.
It is being forced open.
It's being maintained.
Surtur is meant to lead the fire giants not to Alfheim. Could it be them?
Surtur is not meant to emerge until much later in the cycle. This is... I feel an attack from Surtur would be direct.
And to Midgard, not here. Right?
Perhaps, but I can't say. It doesn't seem... I do not know if this is a jump to an attack or some form of threat. Seems like the fires potentially could be just the prolonged activity of the portal burning into the timber of its frame. But we are unable to close it until we see what is on the other side. But something is holding it open.
Nothing has come through?
Nothing.
Then we close it?
I fear it can only be closed from the other side. Or something on the other side must be dealt with for us to open it.
So that is why I have been called.
You see a sly, proud grin crosses her face as she says,
I feel you have a slightly more perceptive mind than some of your more militant kin. I wish to know, of all things, what is holding this bond with Alfheim, with Yggdrasil so strongly, and for it to be dealt with.
So, cross my arms and give it an arched brow in the direction of Ari over there. Mm-hmm. Although I have no knowledge of them whatsoever. So, you wish for a foray into the other side of this portal?
Yes. If we must mobilize forces, then that will be done. But for the time, I would like to know what is going on.
If there's an illness on the other side of this portal, I predict it'll take all manner of implements to prune the taint out.
We not get to deal with pruning. We can get rid of illness if that is what it is.
I imagine that's why you're here then?
And why are you here?
Pruning. Sort of wiggle the giant battle axe draped across my shoulders.
Not the kind that I do.
Forgive my impertinence, but Rowan's battle prowess is legendary. For what need do we have the beating drums at the heart of Yggdrasil? Nordane, her time in the bowels playing music for the children is, well, it brings peace to my heart, but is this a place for her? And it's telling that I'm just like, I know all of you.
yeah.
Like this is the, it's like what? I mean, we are a very high level, so we're probably pretty reputable in.
We've at least
Made
know of or seen glimpsed
Yeah.
each other at some point, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the high elves and wood elves work.
Oh well, I mean, my job is to
often.
keep tabs on everything. So
Well, there you go.
Are you addressing me? Or
I kind of addressed
yeah.
the leaders. Why is she here?
And
I
why
just
is
to
she
them.
There's a you see Nieva opens her mouth to answer and then sort of pauses for a moment, does not, as far as you can tell, does not seem to really have a reason. But then Olwen steps forward and like gestures to you openly as he says, Nordane is connected to the beating hearts
of Yggdrasil. Finely tuned to its voice and its rhythm. If anything, she will keep you on the path that is required to maintain the cycle and the world tree.
Nah. You're suggesting that she is the greyhound to sniff out the cancer that is afflicting us from the other side.
Something like that, yes.
I would say more the slap on the wrist if we get sidetracked. No?
More a guiding light in dark places.
Not a
It's the
greyhound.
same.
Nieva turns to the four of you and says,
Alfheim is struggling. The news of Baldur's death has been devastating.
as she looks over to the two of you again, is like,
For all of us. I would not have this news spread too easily. So go quietly and bring back whatever news you can.
Aye.
you are, as you're dismissed, you gather your equipment needed. You are given a 2 greater healing potions each, along with rations. Just in case.
2, how many rations?
Enough.
Just rations.
It's enough.
Okay.
Essentially, you gather they're not expecting this to take very long, but you were given essentially like a week's rations just in case the S hits the fan.
Yeah.
As you make your ways out to the edge of, almost like to the end of one of these branches, further out you can see almost like stars in the distance, the various leaves reaching out into the abyss. Before you, there are 2 Tierbrand warriors standing sort of off either side, flanking a large circular portal. The portal appears to be made from twisted vines and branches that form a large circle. You see that this portal, as you may have seen many of the portals before, it is indeed active, and the edges of it, the inner edges of this circle, smolder and smoke like not a flame, but definitely like a dull burn setting into the timber. There are a number of others, various sort of Freyakin mages who are working to apply water and salves, as well as imparting magical healing into the timber. Is there anything you'd like to do before you go through?
I'd like to kind of talk to Manessa on the side and say, I would have a word with you
Yes.
privately.
Vanessa like huddles over to the side, sort of glancing at the others to make sure you're sort of far enough away.
The Tierbrand and the Freyakin, you're sure they will support us?
They will do what they must. And they will do what they will.
They will keep the cycle going.
She reaches out and, like, sort of cups your face, cups your cheeks in her hands, and she says,
But we bring him back. We restore this.
We break the suffering.
This.
she points to the portal.
She says, this is no coincidence. This leads us to him.
I will do as you say.
Good. Do not fail me.
Of course.
She steps back, and there's this like wringing of her hands for a moment as she looks over at the portal, and this half giddy, half like just nail-biting anxiousness as she's staring at this portal.
I hold like my holy symbol of boulder and kind of give like a long, deep bow.
She returns it and turns.
And then I'll go and stand with the others.
Before we go through the portal, I look to the other three. I notably stood like 2 meters apart from them and turned to them and bow slightly. Forgive the disrespect of my presence.
So, a bit of a pause, perhaps as thinking of words to say or even to give words at all. You're a twisted blade, but any blade is welcome at my side.
I quiet nod in reply.
There is nothing wrong with walking in shadows, dear Brand. It must be done.
The brethren speaks well.
Peace and love, friend. You're just over here chilling.
As
And we save the best for last.
as you exchange these moments, solidifying yourselves in your resolve, you pass through the portal. Stepping through, doesn't seem to be any change in what you are used to as the sensation of passing through the portal. But as you pass through, you find yourself in a long, dark, natural stone tunnel with the sound of winds and crashing waves echoing through the distance and the briny smell of the sea on the air. And that is where we're going to end this session.
Welcome to Midgard, everyone.
to Midgard.
Spooky stuff.
Well, very cool. Thank you, Dragon, for DMing. We got 3 more episodes to come as we find out what the hell is happening to Alfheim and Ragnarok and all that stuff. Thank you to Loot Studios for sponsoring the video. Of course, go check out Journey into Alfheim, their new journey. And what I actually think is really cool is if you haven't gotten into it and you want to run an entire campaign, the first 2 journeys basically make this a 3-part trilogy story, and there's like full stat blocks and story that goes along with it. So you can go from Midheim all the way through and just have a great time. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Oh, and who else do we have to thank? It's always one other group of special people.
These people.
The patrons.
Not that way.
Thank you very much, patrons, for supporting the video.
This is weird.
Thanks, patrons.
See you
Thank you,
next time.
patrons.
Hope you enjoyed bonus episode. That's cool.
Bonus episode.
Yeah, a bit different.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Ta-ta. Goodbye.